Welcome to Below the Surface, the podcast where we go beyond the small talk and dive deep into the conversations that matter.
From personal growth to the complexities of human behaviour, we explore the stories, ideas, and experiences that shape our world without the fluff.
Expect raw, thought-provoking discussions with fascinating guests and plenty of insights to challenge the way that you think.
So if you're ready to look below the surface, you're in the right place.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Okay. Who is Denise Boyd?
I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I'm a mother of autistic child. I look after him. I look after my family, and currently running a hyperbaric oxygen chamber in Castlebar in order to help my son developing better, achieving more, make his life easier in future, and also try to help other people with different conditions who are coming to us. And this kind of fulfills my day.
Very good. So your son has autism. So what age is your son now, and what was your first reaction? Did you see something wrong, or was there signs? And
He's now 9. He was diagnosed when he was 4.5, I think. As a mom, I was seeing some kind of signs when he was little, when he was about 2 years of age. I didn't know what to look back then because I didn't have all the information I have now, obviously. But I was noticing like delaying in his speech. That was the main thing I've noticed. But all the people around me were telling that it's okay, he's a boy, he's still 2, he will start to talk, just later. And when he started the play school, he was 2 years and 7 months old when he started the play school, and he was not adapting well. He didn't want to stay, he was not socializing with other kids, he didn't want to play, and things like this. And it took him too long to adapt to the play school, maybe a month or 2.
And he's
Maybe
2 at this stage now.
He was two and 2.5, between 2.5 and 3 years of age. And they advised me for my own reassurance, just to look for appointment with the public health nurse, just to look for appointment with a psychologist and just get him tested to see if everything's okay, things like this. And I've embraced it. I said, like, if there's something, I better know now than later. So I did, yeah. And that's how we went to psychologist, get a diagnosis. And from there, when we finally got the diagnosis, because it took too long or whatever, he got diagnosis about 4.5. And we started to look for alternatives, as everything that was recommended to us as help and therapies and everything, it was highly inefficient, because we simply didn't get enough support. And I don't know what's the reason for such a big lack of service in Ireland, specifically, because the case is not like this in other countries. I know that for sure. But we definitely met, there were no appointments for speech therapy, there were no appointments for OT. We're always on the waiting list. And then the COVID came and everything completely stopped.
Can we go back for a second? What sort of, how was the autism manifesting? You mentioned that he had speech delay. So what other symptoms was he having?
Well, back then I didn't know much about it. And when he got diagnosed, I started, to read more about it. And like looking back into it, there were a lot of out of signs that I haven't seen before, like, sensory issues, also, some milestones, developing milestones as a baby. He didn't have particular any issues. He, did all his milestones and everything. But, things like early, he started walking up really early without really crawling up. He was normal baby. I mean, he was active and smiling and everything, but he's just speech delay. and also socializing with other kids. That's the main problem. But back then I was thinking speech delay and socializing will be problem because he doesn't have many friends here. We don't have family here in Ireland. It was only me and him all the time, most of the time. So, and most people were telling me that, he just started to talk later. He didn't have any social contact. So that's why he's not verbal and he's not socializing so well. But when I found out about the diagnosis, and they gave me all this information, and I was, of course, looking for a lot of information online, I started to see so many other things in him, sensory issues, gut issues he had, immune issues, like he was having every so often, he was having infections. And it always was a big, huge problem for his gut. He always complained of a tummy ache. It was very bad and all that. And this happened every so often. And that's basically it. And like in the speech and the socializing, they will continue on, like ongoing. There still are.
And what was your perception of autism when you got the diagnosis?
To be honest, I didn't know much about it. I was basically thinking, what I've seen in the movies, because I didn't know any kids or anyone with ASD. So it was just like my perception was what I have built up in the movies, which is very, very severe behavioral issues, no speech.
So did you have like a negative perception?
I did. Well, kind of not so much negative, but I was scared. I was a lot scared at first when he had diagnosed because
just the fear of not knowing.
Fear of not knowing what will happen and fear of not knowing what to do. How could I help or anything like this? It was more fear than a negative kind of thing. I mean, this kind of way I was scared. I didn't know what to do and how to help him and what will happen, how he would, because it was like a big shock because as I said, like they just give you all the information and everything, and it's basically deal on your own.
And was he medicated? Were they giving him medication? No medication.
No, absolutely not.
So it was just give you a big book and here, make sense of that.
Yeah, basically that's what it is. Yes, and they assured me, of course, there's a lot of help. There's speech therapy. They didn't assure me. It's like it was all in the information book. Speech therapy, OT therapy, behavior therapies. And all these therapies like this. But as I said, we were on the waiting list for a long time, and we finally managed to get to speech therapy appointment. He was basically doing nothing. He was just like he was so upset. He fell into tantrum. He fell on the floor. He didn't want to do anything. He was just crying on the floor. So the whole speech and just the speech therapist couldn't do anything with him. So this was not working at all. It was all coming down to his behavior and connection with the world, basically, because he was not prepared for this. Like it was basically the same thing that happened when he entered the play school. He was like not adapting. He didn't really want to engage in any kind of if I might call it therapy, like any kind, not only therapy, but any kind of contact, conversation, or anything like this. So it was completely useless. We did a couple of appointments, but it was basically pointless to go there because he didn't want to do anything.
And what was the school? What was the school like? Were they
in the play school? It took him a long time to adapt, maybe about 2 months. But then one of the teachers, she was very concerned, and she realized he might need more one-to-one tuition. She kind of took him under his wing, if I might say, put this way, and she was trying to be close to him, like, and most of the time. He was not entitled to get one-to-one any assistance anyway, but she.
Why wasn't he entitled?
I think it's not severe case, so that's why. If it has to be more severe case of I don't know. Back then I asked what kind of, is it any kind of level or just to tell me where he's at the autism spectrum disorder, and they couldn't give me the answer. They said,
but maybe when he goes into, is he in I know play school, but is he gone into like proper full school
He is now.
And does he
school.
have support now?
He has a special needs assistant.
Okay, so maybe it's just play school that they wouldn't They wouldn't give
Yeah,
them
I
in play
guess,
school.
yes, because it was too early and he
Yeah.
wasn't that, severe case, like, and so that's why I didn't give it to him. And also, by the time we get to diagnosis and everything, it just took a lot of time. So he was basically out of play school by the time we got the
Yeah.
diagnosis. We just got the diagnosis, he has to go to school. So yeah, that's why, And and he adapted well and he was going okay. He socialized a bit, he was progressing a bit, not so much, but he was doing well. He was doing all right. And his speech was progressing, but slowly, very slowly. And socializing also very, very slowly and like from time to time, kind of. He was basically going to play school just for his, teacher there, just to be with her, and just be happy with her.
So he had formed a relationship, but like he
Yeah.
had found
Yeah.
like
That's basically what happened.
he was safe with her.
I think so. I think that's what kept him going. And then after some time, he get used to it, and he was okay. He was not developing perfectly well. I mean, keep the problems with socializing and language continued on. Thank God he didn't have any other problems. I mean, he wasn't like that severe case, but problems were still there. He was not progressing much, By that time, I started to, read more about it when we got the official diagnosis, and then COVID came and we were completely stuck. And then I just started thinking backwards again, and just looking for the options I was looking before.
So you were always going to go for the natural. That was always the route you were going to take.
Yeah, that's what I would usually prefer, like in general. But back then, I didn't know what my options are, to be honest, at all.
So how did you stumble upon the hyperbaric chamber then?
I was just looking online for alternative treatments, and then I came across hyperbaric oxygen chamber and started reading stories about children with autism that were, that have seen great improvement with socializing, speech, gastrointestinal problems, sleep issues, and all, different kind of things which are usually connected with autism. And then I started to look for one. I just willing to give it a try. What put me off at first was like most of the cases I've read about were very, very severe cases. And with them, there was a progress. And I was thinking, if my child is not that severe case, probably won't help him that much. Probably I won't see any much of a difference. But I was willing to try anyways because, as I said, like speech therapy, OT is like just none of them for us during COVID. So, also school stopped completely and everything. So I started to look for a hyperbaric oxygen chamber in the area around us.
So what was it saying that it could do? I know you said it could improve their symptoms, but how?
Well, what I've read online back then, I didn't know anything about it. What was the reviews from parents? They said like after doing 10, 20 sessions, their sleep improve. After doing more sessions, their behavior they calmer, they adapt better. After a number of more sessions, they start to communicate, their speech come up, and all these things like this, which are, people observing, parents observing in their kids. In general, I didn't know absolutely nothing about the science behind and how did it work at all. I was just like, when I read these reviews, I just rushed into it. I was willing to find one just to see if it will help my child.
Would it give you confidence to see that? Like,
just wanted to try to see. I didn't even look. I didn't have time to look how it works and what it does. I was so looking for some kind of alternative because everything stopped completely, and there was no support anyhow. And I was just looking for something just to catch for, and that's how I was like, looking around for hyperbaric chamber in the area. Initially, we found one. We have to travel for a good while, and then we discontinued this one, and we go back home in Bulgaria, and we're doing on the regular basis there for a while. And when we came back home, he was back to school. And he was adapting really well. They said, "Oh, this is like a different child now. He is so good. He was adapting. He was coping. Of course, he has his assistant, But like overall, his behavior, they told me his behavior is much better. He's much calmer. He's much more engaged in class. He back then he still needed his sensory breaks and breaks from, it was beginning was very hard for him. Learning reading, writing, maths, everything was kind of a struggle, and it was happening really, really hard. But with the help of the teacher, SNA, and me, and home, of course, he progressed, and he's fine now, and he's well able to cope in school. Now he's in 3rd class.
So that was over a span of how long? When you say you found some here and then you done some in Bulgaria?
Yeah, maybe about 6 months.
So 6 months.
6 months
of,
altogether.
of doing it consistently.
Kind of. In the beginning, we were doing it like just once a week because there was no other option. And then after a couple of months, we started to do it consistently, like every day. This is when we got back home and found the alternative there that we'll be able to do consistently, block of sessions for 40 days. And then we did this in the summer and come back in the autumn, just before September.
And the school had seen like a...
They said he's coping really well.
Significant,
He's progressing, he's doing really fine. He's doing really fine. And as I said, he still have his challenges, and he still struggles with some things. But overall, he's doing well, and he's managing fine. He's doing his tests. He's doing his work in school. Right now, 3 years almost after this, after we started it consistently. Since then, we're doing it consistently. He's much better in understanding, altogether the material in school, writing, reading, math. Everything's much better for him, and he's doing okay. He's never been to a special needs school. He's never been to autistic unit. It was challenging, but he did all this.
Were they trying to push him in that direction?
They did actually in the beginning.
Did they, yeah?
In the beginning, when he first started school, they were not sure. They were trying to not give him special needs assistant. It just they do some kind of assessment to see how he is, and then to make sure he needs one on full time. The beginning was very bad for him. He was very hyperactive. He couldn't stay still. He was going around the room and all that. And then this person who was doing assessment for him just basically called me on the phone, and just because they couldn't find special needs assistant for him at the time, and they just asked me, have you considered sending him to a special unit for special needs school? And I said no. I want to try mainstream school, and I insist on to get him an assistant, special needs assistant. And that's what happened anyways. We have to wait for a month, I think, or 2. He has to go half school day and all this just because there was not enough special needs assistants, whatever. But after all, everything came to place, and he has a special needs assistant, and he's so happy. He's very happy in school. He built up connection with her as well, and he's getting along with her very well. And all good. It's not perfect, but it's good. I'm happy.
So when you seen the change and the positive change that it had on him, was your first instinct right, I need to get one of these, or are you just going to keep traveling and stuff?
Yeah, when I was talking to other parents, when we were going to this hyperbaric chamber back home, when I was talking to other parents and who are using it, they said you have to use it on a regular basis, because it is very important for developing brain. One age which brain develops rapidly in is 3 to 7, and then the second part is from 7 to 12. And after this, any changes of the brain will happen very, very slowly, and it will be very, very hard to interfere with any development of the brain. So that's why I thought we have to do it constantly. We usually do blocks of 20 or 40 sessions. They take a break for a month or 2, depending on how many have we done. And then the same again and the same again. And it is about 3 to 4 times a year, you have to do this block of sessions with him on a constant, like as I said, on a regular basis. But then when we get back home, another lack of hyperbaric chambers. So there was no hyperbaric chamber around the area, and traveling back home every time just to get for a month or two, just to get them sessions done. It just seems a lot of hustle, especially with the autistic kid, all the travel with airplanes and everything and going to do. He has to miss school and all this.
Change of routine too,
It's
isn't
change
it?
of
Like
routine, and like he would miss a lot of stuff doing this 3-4 times a year.
Yeah,
It just, it was just, I don't know. It was just too much for me. Although when we were back there, I knew people who were doing this, coming back from abroad to Bulgaria just to do this. Anyways, and that's what when we start thinking about getting our own, to put it in our house. And we're starting to look, to get into the research, talking to people who are manufacturing them, people who are using them. And then my husband came up with ideas like, basically, listen, like if we do it in our house, why don't we as well get a proper one, a multi-place one, and just put it somewhere and just get people to use it? What if there are other families looking for this kind of service and they cannot find it? What are there other people who are looking to, just try it out for their kids? They just don't know what to expect, but they want to try it. But there are probably other kids we can help, other families that we can help with this. And also when we were like back on the regular sessions, we were meeting also, apart from meeting a lot of parents with kids with autism, we were meeting all other different people with different health issues, like people after stroke, people with Lyme disease, people with injuries, so many different kinds of people. And we're like just amazed how many people for so many different issues are using this, and it's so popular and it helps them. And here almost nobody knows about it.
So when did you look into the actual science behind it, or what did you do to do that?
Yes, when we started looking to get our own, we actually started looking about, for the science behind it, like doing the research, how does it work, what do we need, starting to talk to people who are manufacturing this, and because our highest priority was our son, we were basically looking to get one for him. We wanted to make sure to put every effort in like getting a chamber that will be friendly for autistic kids. That means reduce noise as much as possible. Also comfort of the chamber inside. Like we put these benches inside instead of seats, which like could be used as bed. They can lie down comfortably if they need to, just to calm down and cover up with a blanket if they need to, because some kids need, comforting like this. Other issue was the masks. We were looking to get masks because when you got into the chamber, you have to put on the mask to breathe the oxygen. And what I struggled initially with my son was to keep the mask on his face. The masks were very heavy. They have to go behind the head, and it was like to be really, really tight on his head. He couldn't stand that. He couldn't bear putting this mask, don't even think about putting this big strings behind his head. So I constantly have to hold the mask for him. And the other thing was like in some chambers, they have these hoods which go around the face, but you still have to put it over the head of the child, and like a very, very tight here on the neck.
Like an astronaut helmet, kind of.
Exactly. That's exactly. It's all transparent, and like they put the air inside. But these helmets, hoods are so hard to, put in the head. It's a struggle, and kids are not happy about it. So that's why when we got to this chamber, they have two types of masks. These light masks, which you can easily put on your face, and the other masks, which are bigger, heavier, with the big tubes. And you have to, straighten it behind your head. And nobody wanted to use the other masks. Everybody wanted to use the light masks because it's much easier. So that's why they offered us initially just to do maybe half of them. But we said, no, it's no point. Like, we just use the easy ones just to be easier for the kids. So that's one of the other issues. Like, so we kind of tried to cover everything we could regarding comfort of kids. And other people, of course, because some people find it more comforting if they're in pain or something, just to lay down and make themselves comfortable instead of, sitting straight still, just breathe like this. yeah, and that's how we got into it. And then it was a long journey, and it was a lot of hustle. There are a lot of things involved that we have to do anyways. But after all, we are here and we have it, and my son is able to use this constantly on a regular basis. Ever since we have it, we use it regularly, and we've seen improvement every single time with different aspects of his behavior, speech, engagement, and abilities altogether. But now I cannot say it's certainly one thing that I see improvement in. I think it's more like complex thing. He's progressing altogether.
So
In
could
school,
you?
in behavior, in socializing, and all this stuff.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
So could you just give just for the listeners in that, could you just kind of explain to them the process that happens
Yeah.
for an autistic child to go into the chamber for 6 months? Can you just explain kind of what happens and the possibilities of what can happen from consistent use over a 6 month period
As a benefit.
as a benefit? Yeah, just kind of what happens, how it's used, how it affects them,
Yeah.
how the oxygen gets to the brain, and
Yeah, of course. But see, every child with autism is different. They have different behavioral issues. They have different speech. Everybody is different. They have different issues. But in general, most of the kids with autism will have issues with speech and issues with socializing and social behavior. What oxygen does when they get into the chamber, and when you breathe oxygen, when you breathe pure 100% oxygen under pressure, this oxygen is getting into the brain. I just forgot to mention, like how usually autism is diagnosed as behavior or development disease. I don't know if I can say disease, probably it's a disease anyways. But there's a lot of data lately in the past 5-10 years. There's a lot of data behind accumulating that there are physiological issues with autistic kids that cause this kind of development issues with speech, with socializing, sensory issues. It all comes down to inflammation in the neurological inflammation. This affects the brain and the whole nervous system, and also immune function dysregulation, which the whole immune system. When the kids have a lot of inflammation in their brain or their nervous system, this inflammation brings the issues with the brain, with developing of the brain. Because if there is some kind of inflammation in the brain tissue, or if there's lack of oxygen supply to the brain, that means this area of the brain becomes dormant. They're just not so active. They don't develop properly and just get behind. If you go back to bringing the normal oxygen levels, even higher amounts of them, that's what you can do with a hyperbaric chamber, then these areas can become active again, and over time develop better, and just over a long period of time function in a proper way. And that's what basically is by the this is the physiological part of it. For the immune system, again, what oxygen does under pressure, when you are under pressure, your body is able to absorb much more oxygen than a normal breathing, breathing everyday air. And this oxygen goes straight into your plasma, which is the liquid portion of your blood. So this oxygen is no more carried from the red blood cells, which will be normally done. And it goes straight to your plasma, which is the liquid portion of your blood, and it goes straight into the tissues and areas which will be lacking oxygen, and that means their functioning is not normal, or they're dormant, they're not so active, or they're somehow damaged. It could be lack of oxygen, could be some kind of trauma or anything like this. It just, when oxygen goes in the higher amount, so these areas and tissues, they are able just to recover. It just stimulates it promotes production of new cells in every area of your body, and that's how it helps to recover. That includes brain, that includes nervous system, immune regulation, hyperbaric oxygen therapy affects the cytokines, which are the chemicals, the proteins that fight. Some of them are pro-inflammatory and some of them are anti-inflammatory. It's been shown to promote increase of the anti-inflammatory and decrease of the pro-inflammatory cytokines. And another thing that helps with for autistic kids specifically is a lot of autistic kids have gut gastrointestinal issues, and for that also goes
Is that
down
inflammation of the microbiome? Like?
Could be inflammation of the gut, and of the guts of the all over, like the stomach could be lower intestine, side intestines, but it also microbiome for the kids. A lot of studies show that microbiome for the autistic kids is different from the neurotypical kids, and people altogether. Is they have the more harmful, because it's all bacteria there, they have more harmful bacteria than good bacteria. And what is being shown and what is known for years, that usually the bad bugs, the bad bacteria, cannot survive in oxygen-rich environment, and the good bacteria thrive in oxygen-rich environment, or at least tolerate it somehow. So that what oxygen does, when you put these high oxygen amounts into the gut as well, when they reach, you don't put them basically, but just breathe, and then they just go in there in the gut. The good thing about it is it goes into your lungs, like this is the first, your breathing pathways, and then from the lungs it goes to the bloodstream and to the plasma, and plasma goes every single cell of your body. It will be gut, it will be brain, it will be legs, feet, whatever, everywhere. And that's how oxygen under pressure, these high amounts of oxygen helps the good bacteria thrive and the bad bacteria, die.
So is it opening up, so getting the oxygen, is that opening up like the gateway for the brain and the microbiome to connect?
More or less so, yes, because improving the gut microbiome, it improves the brain, improves the connection between, and improving the brain. In a way, improving the brain development by, lowering down inflammation in the brain and the nervous system, improving the blood flow, and saturation, oxygenation in the blood itself. It's all connected and it all comes together in a certain way. I never did any testing for my child for, any gut issues or any, I didn't do any testing for microbiome, anything like this. Or I didn't do any scans of his brain or anything like this. It's just all the science behind it. Like we just don't, that's why we're not medical service. They are medical clinics who does all this and they work with it all together. They have shown like scans before, scans after of the brain, gut and all this. But as I said, I had the symptoms for him. His speech, his behavior, engagement, his gut. I've assumed he had some gastrointestinal issues because, as I said, he had infections every so often, and every infection was disturbing his gut so much. He was, very bad symptoms of, stomach ache. He was throwing up. He was literally sick for every single infection.
And how's he now? Not so much anymore.
No, not so much anymore.
What was his nutrition like when he was younger?
Yeah, well, I put a lot of effort just to make him eat the right things, you know what I mean? And
would he eat them?
Yeah, well, for the most part, at least. Like when he was eating them when he was very little, then after some time, usually around like when he was at play school, he started dropping off things completely. Dropping off fruit and vegetables, dropping off, other, leafy greens and stuff I was giving him before. And
did he go back to eating them again?
A few of them, yes, he did. Some did, some he didn't. But this happened over some time. That was actually one of the last things in the last couple of months that I've noticed for him as an improvement, that he's starting to pick up things to eat that he wouldn't usually eat, like, fruit and vegetables. He just willing to try. He was not willing to try at all before. He would just stick to his things that he likes. He's not like super strict. I mean, as maybe there are some other autistic kids, they eat only specific things and in specific consistency, like some of them have to be mashed and they have to be crunchy. He's not that bad, but he's sticking to his favorite things and the food he tolerates. But altogether, his diet is quite diverse and healthy, in my opinion, because he's eating all different groups of micronutrients and all that. So
this might sound like I'm contradicting, but how do you know that it's not the nutrition, the more balanced nutrition that will obviously have an impact on his microbiome? How can you know that it was the hyperbaric chamber that impacted his microbiome? Because
his eating did not change much ever since he got the diagnosis. This was the time when he already dropped off the things he was eating, all the healthy things I was giving him as a baby just to, make him eat right. But he started to drop off most of the fruits and vegetables anyways, raw. But like all the rest stayed. All the rest he was eating regularly on a regular basis. It just basically, he just doesn't have that big diverse of fruit and vegetables. But that didn't change since, it was the same before we started the chamber. It was the same for some time before we started the hyperbaric chamber. So that's why I believe it was that made the change for him. So. And also, I think it's all connected with the immune system as well, because improvement in the immune system, because he suffered, as I said, every so often he suffered from some kind of infection. I guess this is quite common for kids anyway. But for him, as I said, these infections were always connected with a lot of tummy troubles. He was like very sick for a couple of days. And it was very bad, like, just simple kind of, virus would cause him such a stomach, he was throwing up like constantly, almost every month he had something like this.
He would physically vomit, like?
He would vomit, yeah. He would vomit like for something like, even though there was not basically it was not a stomach bug, but I think everything was going affecting his stomach somehow. It was affecting his gut. Every little virus he got would affect his gut badly. So
and he doesn't get that. Like he doesn't have them problems anymore.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Well, as I said, for sure, I think, and as I said, I think it's big part of it. It was the hyperbaric chamber, but as I say, I didn't do any tests on it. I have anything to prove it. So I also.
It's a pretty big coincidence. Like.
I guess so, but I don't use any kind of. Ever since we started hyperbaric chamber, a little after this, we started. We started to use essential oils in our everyday life, and I almost completely ditch off any kind of medications or anything, bought from pharmacy anymore. Anyways, and I think probably this played part as well as support. But I cannot prove anything. I have no. I have no test or anything.
You told me some interesting stuff yesterday when we spoke about the effects it has on migraines. Migraines, and another one we spoke about was fertility issues.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of the things we find out after we started running this hyperbaric chamber. At the beginning, as I said, we were, focused. We were focused a lot on our son and on his behavior. I was like so kind of straight into him and looking, try to look in every detail of his behavior, of his socializing, of his language, just to see for a sign, just to see for something that will improve. I was like staring into him, basically, literally counting his words and all that. And I was not much interested. I was looking basically solely in the autism and how it affects autism and my son specifically. But then we, because he's a child, we have to do it with him, me and my husband. So we said, as we are in there, why not, breathe the oxygen as well? And my husband, after the first block of 20 he did with our son, he realized his migraines are gone. He used to have these migraines episodes for maybe sometimes every couple of weeks, sometimes every month, but every so often he has horrible migraine episodes, and there was nothing that would affect him. You just have to wait for them to go away. And after the first one, you were thinking, oh, probably that's just a coincidence, like it just happened like this. But over and over again, like they never came back. Actually, he didn't have, for the last 3 years, he didn't have an episode again. And
he was getting them regularly, like?
He was getting them regularly, yes.
And he hasn't had one in 3 years?
No, he hadn't one in 3 years. He didn't have them that often before, but as we were thinking back about it, like he kind of connected with, but we're looking for something that triggers it. And he would think that probably that would be his work on the computer. So the screen time will trigger more of these migraines episodes. Ever since we started this, he's even working more on the computer now, but he doesn't have them anymore. So they're gone forever. And then we realized just after a time, like, was like, you know what, these migraines that you didn't have them for a long time. Oh, yes. Yeah, I didn't. So, well, he must be the hyperbaric oxygen then.
Well, like he hadn't made any drastic change to any
other
else
change
in his life.
Exactly, that's it. No any other changes. That's the only change. He also used to have this before he started this with our son, because we have to. He had really bad injury in his shoulder, which stopped him from He used to regularly train and going to the gym and lifting up weights and all that. He didn't even remember how he hurt his shoulder so bad that he couldn't train for almost a full year. He couldn't train because every time he went to the gym and lift heavy weights, the pain would come back. He didn't have pain, or he would have probably a numb pain during the day, some days, not all of the time, but when he go to do hard work or, going to the gym, it will be such a bad pain. He couldn't sleep for 2 or 3 days at night. It was so bad. That's why that stopped him from going back to the gym completely. So he didn't go for almost over a year. And after the first block of 20 sessions, that was gone as well. He was able to go back to his regular training. He was like, oh, I'm surprised. I'm going to try. He tried anyways. I'm surprised. No pain. It's fine. It's great. All good. He continued on training, and it didn't come back ever since. And, a lot of small things like this, we had some, injuries, me, him, different things that happened, or just things that happened everyday life to everyone. And helped a lot, like usually, because we do it on a regular basis and we can do it like straight away after, something happens. It just helps straight away, or for us or for the kids. My little one, they couldn't even find what he had, because when he started coughing, he had really bad chest. It wasn't really chest infection. They were like looking into chest, everything's fine, but he was like, couldn't stop talking. Coughing for a lot, just for months, and they put him different medications, different syrups. After all, they put him on inhaler because they thought it probably some kind of asthma triggering, wherever it is. It wasn't that helped him either. And ever since, like, I usually don't go with him, my little one, in the chamber, but ever since we have it, if I've noticed like he started coughing, and now use essential oils and all stuff to help him, and that happens fairly quick for him. But if that doesn't help at that time, I just go straight to the chamber for a day or two, and everything's cleared up for him. It just helps him with with this coughing and all these health issues as well. So that I know now after my experience. I didn't know these things before. I would like kind of naturally go into research and talking, like, so also they do a training, the company who is providing the hyperbaric chamber, they do a training for a hyperbaric chamber technician, which is what I am, but I'm not a medical doctor. I cannot give any medical advice. I can only give advice as experience of other chambers, experience of other people in other chamber, and what the science says about it. I'm not just treating, we are not, because it's a family, my husband is involved as well. We're not treating anybody for any issues or anything like that. And we don't give any guarantee of any outcomes or cures of any type or anything like this. So it's just all for recreational, holistic service. Improving health being. We're not advertising it. We're not claiming anything that we cure anything, and we give some kind of medical service or anything like this. So.
And the fertility issues then that we spoke about yesterday as well. You had some outcomes with that too.
Yeah, good few. They are doctors in this area, fertility specialists who are using hyperbaric chambers in their clinics, and they're using hyperbaric chambers as part of their whole circle of treatment, cycle of treatment, if I might put it this way. In general, hyperbaric chamber is recommended for anybody who is trying to conceive naturally because it improves the blood flow and oxygenation to all the reproductive organs for men and women, and makes them function better and prepare better for conceiving or whatever it is. But for some people, this is hard, and especially for people who are going through IVF treatments, cycles, they have to make sure everything for them is functioning properly before they can even get into the cycle, because that will guarantee them good outcomes, successful cycle. And that's how they use it, the fertility specialists, that's how they use it, just to ensure that circulation is good, everything's functioning normally. They do the tests with the blood, they do the scans and everything, just to make sure everything's functioning as normal as it could be, just to start the IVF cycle. And then hope for the better outcomes. Well, there are a lot of studies and a lot of real life experiences that showing these things, a lot of tests, because obviously they do a lot of tests, blood tests, scans throughout the way just to do this. And that's, I think that's proof on its own about how it works for them. And yeah, there are people who are living in the area of the west of Mayo are coming into us for this kind of reasons.
And you've seen success in that. Have you seen?
Yeah, I have.
You've seen it firsthand that it's been successful.
Well, I don't like to share anything in particular, because usually these people are very private about their journey, and it's understandable. And I don't share anything but just in general, it's good for people to know that could be used for this kind of issue as well, because this is something relatively new. Hyperbaric chamber will be known, for hundreds of years, almost 100 of years, and it's been getting more popular for the last maybe 20 years. But fertility treatment for fertility issues it's relatively new, maybe last 3-4 years has been used for, and this is something relatively new and not a lot of people know about it. So yeah, it will be good to mention that too for people who might be interested about that. So yeah.
Very good. So if you could give a broad list of stuff that the hyperbaric chamber benefits, what would be the main, say if you were to give a list of 5 or 6 real main ones that you really find people would get great benefit from?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is in general, oxygenation, higher oxygenated levels of your body altogether, because oxygen is involved in every cell of your body needs oxygen to work properly, to function properly. So that's one main thing, that you have higher amounts of oxygen in your cells to use it in the best possible way. That's if that's the general, there's literally nothing that cannot help it, because if it helps your body to function altogether better, this is a very broad spectrum of things you can use it for. But in general, you can use anti-aging is one first thing, because produces a lot of new cells, improves collagen production, it helps promote that. Anti-aging altogether from inside out. There are studies about how using hyperbaric chamber can help reverse biological age, not chronic, biological age. They have studies, they've done tests and everything. There's a lot of information about this. They do a lot of work like this in Israel. Also, neurological issues, any kind of, neurological damage, any kind, nervous system, brain, damage, strokes, traumatic brain injuries, physical impact of anything like this, just any kind of injuries that happen to the nervous system and to the brain, to the head. Also, what it does in deeper level, as I said, immune functioning, and just supports immune system, cytokines that I've mentioned before, and also gut biome, a lot of things as well. What else? Also improves, this is hard work, I'll try to pronounce it right. So neovascularization, this is building up a new blood vessels in your body over time, which improves altogether blood circulation. And improved blood circulation means, better blood flow and more oxygenated tissues and areas. And probably I'm missing a lot of stuff, but I think that's basically...
They would be the main ones.
Yeah, the main ones, yes. They would be the main ones. I guess the most popular thing for people now that people they know of is like sports injuries of any kinds. Not only sports, but any kind of injury. It could be crash, people suffering from, crash injuries and stuff. Sports injuries in general, sports recovery and performance, which will be very, very popular.
That's what I found for me. I found it been just a game changer.
And a lot of people that will be the life proof for that. But it's for you. You're not just somebody who is doing some. You're high intensity.
Casually athletic.
You're like you're high performance. You're just not somebody who's going to the gym like 2 or 3 days per week. Nothing bad about it, but injuries happen at any point. But for high performance athletes, it's particularly important just to be able to push themselves and recover after that huge.
Like my session, I intentionally, my hardest session of the week is done the day after the hyperbaric. So I do the hyperbaric chamber every Wednesday. My hardest session of the week is done intentionally on the Thursday. And ever since I've made that change, I have like the intensity I can get in that workout is like, and like people might say, oh, that could be a number of things, but for me, that's the only thing I've changed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The intensity that I can bring to that workout. Like I do that intentionally every week. So I have my hard session on a Thursday. I've just found it since I've made that change that like it's benefited me so much. Like,
well, probably someone who is involved to just regular person who is doing everyday training for health and just a good health. And I think probably they wouldn't come to the hyperbaric chamber just because they have injury. They'll be like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll just, recover in a few days. But sometimes these injuries are quite hard to recover from. And also I have other high intensity, high performance athletes who are coming to the chamber with injuries that don't recover for them for a good while. And that stops them from their regular training, which for them is a big step backwards, because if they don't do their regular training on a regular basis, high performance training, they will they just go down. They just cannot keep up with their game and I have a good few of them already, with a good feedback and everything, and they've been suffering for injuries for a really long time, and after they come just for a couple of sessions, they feel so much better and the injuries are completely gone, and they come back to their normal training. It's just that sometimes the hyperbaric chamber, what people usually do to get rid of their injuries and just improve altogether, they can do their regular stuff. I also have people after surgeries, coming over just because they're not fully recovered. There's still something hurting them. They're still not recovering the way they should be. They're still not moving the way they should be. And after a few sessions, they're back to normal. It's just all these things show you that what hyperbaric chamber does, the high levels of oxygen does, it just helps this inside healing, inside on the cellular level. Because you can do anything. it's not that you don't have to do like all the physios and other things that you have to do with movement, stretching, and all that. But this is all the things that you do like mechanically on top of the surface. What oxygen does, it helps your body heal from inside out. And the good thing about it, your body is doing all the job. You're not doing, I mean, you're not counting on, any kind of, physical therapy or any kind of appointment or any kind of medication. You just, before you go there and breathe your oxygen, you just leave your body to do the rest. You just give them the tool to do the right job for them. Will it be injury? Will it be, oxidative stress? Will it be, mitochondria? Will it be microbiome? Whatever it is, your body uses the oxygen the way it's needed most and the way it's more efficient. The best way, it needs it at the moment. Like whatever needs it best at the moment, it's using it the best way possible.
It's a prevention tool too. Like the prevention is always better than the cure.
Yeah.
Like, do you know?
Oh, definitely. Oh, that's for sure. Absolutely. This is all. I mean, it's partially connected with anti-aging properties. This is kind of prevention as well, because it helps your body rejuvenate from inside out, from inside, things that you cannot see. Well, if it is a wound or cut or something, you can see it's healing.
Yeah.
But like if people don't see what's happening in their body, they kind of,
That's the problem, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's the thing.
The patients does.
Yeah, that's why they do all these studies with tests and everything and randomized control studies with groups just to show these benefits. And there are a lot of studies online. And there are more and more coming every single day about it. So if someone is interested, they can always look online and look for proper information. With the proper sites and like science-based and everything with randomized control. It's not, most of it is not anecdotal anymore.
Where would you get some of that? PubMed? Would you get it on PubMed?
Yeah,
PubMed's
PubMed,
fairly reliable.
It is. Yeah, it's quiet. It is quiet.
Yeah.
Also, in Israel, I don't know if they publish in PubMed. I have to double check that. I'm not sure where. As I mentioned before, there's this Israeli clinic. They're very. They're one of the pioneers actually in the hyperbaric chamber treatments of all kind of things. They do a lot of studies as well, but I'm not sure if they publish them on PubMed or somewhere else. I think
I spoke to someone who said there's quite a bit on PubMed about them. Like,
maybe. I'm not just 100% sure, but PubMed, I think, is a very good resource. Like you should always check your resources, but there's a lot of information online, and there are also a lot of medical clinics and also functional medicine doctors who are practicing this and including in their practice for so many different things. So if everybody's interested, we are not one of them. As I said, we're just recreational. We're not a medical service. I'd like to underline that if somebody's expecting, something from us. There are also, it's just, I think we're just giving to people something available, something affordable. So if they're willing to try for their issues, they could. Like, they don't have to wait for it. They don't have to get referral. It's just their own kind of approach of, of alternative way of helping themselves and improve their health altogether.
Would you get much skepticism about it? Like, do you have to convince people or?
Sometimes, because there's something very particular. Probably I didn't mention that before. I've mentioned it maybe with my son, but I never explained why. Something very particular about the hyperbaric chamber, especially when it's like, if there is an injury or something, acute injury or something like this, maybe a session or two will do the job. Or if you do it as you do for overall health and benefit and recovery, a session or two per week will be fine, will do the job. Because in general, you don't have any pain, you don't have any injury, you don't have any particular to find about. But this kind of therapy works best when it's done in blocks. And when I say blocks, I mean 5 to 10 typically to start with, and then continue on to 20 if need to, and continue on to 40 and 60 even if you need to, sessions, and then in a row. That means they have to do them in consecutive days, every single day if possible. If not possible to do it every single day, you have to try to do them as close as you can to consecutive, like every second or every third day. You should not give a break for more than 2 days, because you're losing the ability of oxygen to accumulate. What happens when you do it in consecutive days, like 5, 10, 20, what happens is your body gets fully saturated and the oxygen level go really high in your body. And when it happens, when you do it every single day, not that you only keep them high enough for the time of you're doing the sessions, you also like there's some leftover that your body builds up as the so-called oxygen reserve. That means that when your therapy is finished, when the sessions are finished, your body can still use that so-called oxygen reserve to do the job it has started already, to do the healing, to do the recovery, and just give your body more time to recover properly and heal whatever it needs to be healed. You just use the oxygen for a longer period of time. For example, if you do it 10 sessions, 10 days in a row, in the next, it's usually doubling up the time of the sessions that you still have this active oxygen in your body. I mean, active means available for your body to use. So you, for example, if you do 10 sessions, for the next 20 days, you still your body will still avail of this oxygen, and it will be like almost like 80% will slowly go down, but like it'll be almost the same as you can use it through the block of the treatment, the block of the therapy treatments. Like 10 days, it will be like roughly the same for the next 20 days. You can still use this oxygen in your body, you can still use it to recover, rejuvenate, or, fight that inflammation that is going on, whatever it is, and heal the wound, whatever it is. And then you can take a break for, depending on how long do you do it. Again, double the time. That's the break for you, and you can come back again if you need to. But as I said, for our son, we're doing it on a regular basis. That means block of 40 sessions, rest 40 sessions, and then rest for 80 days, and then another block of 40 sessions, rest for 80 days, and that's how we do it, like constantly on the regular basis. Just because, as I said, we're trying to get as much as oxygen as possible right now when, this is the time for his brain to still develop, and just try to, improve it as much as possible at this age. For him, that's necessary. So, but for anybody else who is fighting any kind of issue, we usually recommend start with 5 to 10 sessions at least, because for somebody who is in pain or, whatever it is, some kind of health issue, that they would see the difference, like to make any effect of it after the 5th or 6th session usually. At least 5 to 6 sessions. Some people need more, some people need less. Some people see the benefits at 3rd, 4th session, some people 5, 6, some people 10, some people need more, 20. Just everybody's different. Depends on the person, depends on the individual issue. It depends on the, overall health, if there are any underlying condition as well. It depends on a lot of factors anyway. So that's why I cannot certainly tell, how long will it take, how many sessions would I need. I cannot tell that. I can recommend how many would you start with. And if you need to continue with more, I can recommend that. I can give you advice, but I cannot tell how many sessions will it take for you to, do whatever, just get any kind of improvement or any kind of, relief or whatever it is like they're looking for. So
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Denise, for coming on and sharing all that information. And we will put in the show notes, we'll put just how you can be contacted, or
of course,
if anyone wants to try out.
Of course, absolutely.
The hyperbaric chamber.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure to share all that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Thank you.
So if you were happy with that episode and you want to see more guests come on like Denise, drop us a follow or subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next one.